Hello everyone and welcome back. So up until now we have implemented almost all the functionality in this main page. The only thing which is pending right now is the image that we have to show, a very nice looking phone frame with the screenshot of the snippet inside and the ability to navigate to the next page. Now we are going to make this as a reusable control because we will be using it in many places. So let's get going with it. What I'm going to do, under my view controls, I'm going to create a new content view. So let's go to DotNetMaui, create a content view XAML control, and I'm going to call it snippet image. This is a simple content view, nothing fancy about it. Let me clean it up and let me remove the default stack layout that comes out of it. And I'm going to give it a name in case we want to make use of it. I prefer to give the name to all my root elements, but it's totally up to you. And in this, what we are going to do, we need to have a border, something like this. Let me go back to the running application, and this is the border control, and inside we have the screenshot with some clipping. Now ideally, since we are in .NET MAUI world, we should be using border control. Unfortunately, I struggled a lot with it. There are a lot of bugs still with border. Some of them are even open. The biggest one, which is hindering my progress, is the image clipping. So there are some workarounds which have been provided by the MAUI team. Even though the issues are still open, I tried all of them. None of them worked for me. The images look horrible inside the border when they are clipped. So I decided to resort to the trusted old frame from Xamarin. So let me actually show you what we are going to have. I'm just going to paste the code. So what we are doing, just to create this effect, I don't know if you can see this. Maybe if I open this up over here, so you can see there is a frame which has a certain thickness. Of course, with frame, unfortunately, we don't have this luxury of providing how much thickness we want. So to handle this, what I did, I ended up creating a frame, sorry, a frame within a frame. So I created a frame, the top frame, and let's actually close this for now. So this frame has a padding of 4 pixels or 4 points. So this is the thickness of the border that we'll be using for, and I'm disabling the shadows using the full vertical and horizontal fill options, setting my border radius to 12 pixels or 12 points for this. And the background color, I am setting it to the dark border color, which has been defined as almost a dark grayish color in my app.xaml file. And the border color is also the dark border color in this particular case. Now, since I am defining it with a padding of 4 and with a background of dark background color, so everything else will look like a dark border for me. But inside, after this 4 padding, I have another frame inside which has no padding, which means the image that will come inside this frame will take up all the space, and everything is the same except that the corner radius is, since I'm using padding of 4, so 12 minus 4, 8. This is the corner radius for the inside frame, and the background color is the same. I can even leave it as transparent. It's totally up to us. And in this border, I'm setting the is clip to bound to true, so that it will clip the content inside. And inside this, I have the main image. Right now, you will notice that I have put this image inside of the grid control, which you will see at a later stage why this is needed. If we do not need to do anything beyond this, we can actually put this whole as the root of this frame, but we will implement something later. So here I have an image, and the image I am giving it a name called phone screen. It is filling up the full space inside the frame, and the aspect ratio is aspect fill. So this is a simple frame that I have created, which just has an image. It is not bound to anything right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to this snippet image that we have created, and I'm going to create some bindable properties, and I'll explain to you what these bindable properties are. So let me bring in all these bindable properties and then walk you through them. So the first property I'm creating is an image height property. It is of type double, just a simple bindable property, and an image width property. What I'm doing, whenever this image width or image height property is set, I am just calling this function and I'm setting this whole snippet image, this whole snippet image, this content view, the height and width of this content view to the new value which is passed. So this is what you can see over here. Here it is showing in a small size. If I go inside for this top one, it is showing big. As and when I scroll up and down, I implement the parallax view. I'm changing the size of it while keeping the proportion. And similarly over here, I'm using a different height and width. So this is the properties, bindable properties that I use to control the size of the whole frame, the whole control itself. And then lastly, I have another bindable property, which is my image URL property. This is of type string. This is where we will pass in the URL of the image. This can be a local image, this can be an image coming from the internet, can be anything. So this is the image URL that we will provide. And whenever this image URL is set, what I'm doing, I am getting my snippet control. So this is basically my snippet image, this whole thing. And what I'm doing on this snippet control.phone screen, if we go back, I have given this image a name, phone screen. I'm setting this phone screen.source as new URI image source, and I'm providing it the new value which is being passed to it. And on top of that, I'm enabling the caching and I'm setting the cache validity to 100 days from now. So up to 100 days, these images will be cached. After 100 days, again, it will go and fetch the images again from the internet and cache them for the next 100 days. So this is what I'm doing for my image caching. So that's all that we are doing over here. Now we need to actually go ahead and use it in our snippet cell. So in the snippet cell, let's go back to our application, the one that we want to build. This is where we want to put in our image. So if I just make it collapsed everything. So this is our grid. So we had the star info, we had the snippet title, we had the SDKs, and below that we had the indicator view. So in this first row is where we want to put in this snippet image. So how we can bring it? We can bring it by, let me call it local controls, and this will be a snippet image. Okay, it is complaining that it does not know about what this local controls are. So let's bring in the namespace, which is in our view controls folder, and that's all we are doing over here. Okay, so let us set the name of this name to phone image. I will be using this name later on once we implement scrolling animations. I'm going to put this in grid.row 0. So basically it's going to go into the first row, and vertical options is end. So vertically it is going to go and end over here. Horizontally we can center it. Horizontal options is center. We can give it some margins. So maybe margin maybe from the top left 0, top 0. We don't want to give anything. Left nothing, right nothing, and then maybe from the bottom some 12 pixels or 12 points, so that it does not end up very close to this. And I'm going to set the image height to 220 pixels and the image width to 102. So this is the ratio of the phone usually, which is I think these days 16 by 10 or 16 by 9. This is usually the ratio. So I am giving it a height of 220 pixels and width of 102 pixels. And for the image URL, we need to provide the image URL. So where do we get this image URL from? If we go back to our app models, so each of the snippet actually has a list of images. So we want to get the first image. We want to display, let's say, only the first image. For this, what I can do, I can go ahead and I can create a custom property for this, public string, and I can call it hero image, and this can simply be a getter, and this getter is going to be if the images are not null dot first. So I will get the first item, and then since this is a list of images and images have, if we go back, images have image URL, so image URI. So this is my hero image URL. Now this is what I can use. Let me just copy this, and this is what I can use in my snippet cells. So I can bind this to my hero image, mode is equal to one way, so that we use binding. And with this, now let me run the application again and let's see this in action. Let this build. And it is complaining the views was not found. Where is the views not found? Something is amiss here. Okay, luckily found the issue. This bracket is missing after we define the image URL. Lucky, otherwise, unfortunately, sometimes Visual Studio gives very cryptic error messages which very difficult to identify. You could see it was reporting 260 plus error messages. Yeah, so now you can see it has loaded the image and it has displayed it very nicely. If I keep on scrolling, so you see right now this one, it took a while for the image to come in, and you see, and it's taking time. There is no indication something is happening. It's here, it's taking much more time because this is much bigger, and then suddenly it just appears. Now next time around, if I run this, it will not be taking any time to load these images because they are already cached. So let's actually run this application again, and all the images will be available instantly for us. You can see all of them, including the Places app, I believe, which was a big one. Yeah, see, it is available already. So if we keep on scrolling, so this is the one which is now being fetched from the internet, and there is no indication. It is just showing a plain black or dark background that we don't know whether it is doing something or not. So what we need to do over here is we need to implement some sort of notification mechanism to show that images are being loaded. So not this kind of behavior. We need to fix this. So how we can fix this? Let me actually stop this. And what we need to do, we need to go back to our snippet image, and that's the reason I put this as a grid. So what I'm going to do, below the image, so basically it's going in the visual stack tree, it is going to be on top of this image. I am creating a new content view and I will name it as loading indicator, and again it is taking up all the space, and the background color is something like a dark grayish kind of color. So this is coming on top of it. Now if I run this, you will notice always it will be shown on top of the image always, because it is visible by default and it is covering this whole image, just to show you what is happening. And this is what we will actually play with, and I will show you what we are going to do. So you see, this is the, now this screen, this content view that we have put in, this is now on top of all the images. So what we need to do basically in simple theory, while the image is loading from the internet, or it is still in the process of loading, we should animate this to, let's say, change the color or change the opacity or whatever we want to do. And once the image is loaded, we should make this control invisible. So for this, let's actually go ahead to our snippet image and we will start implementing some code. So this is where I set the source. after I have set the source, what I can do, so we have this, let's handle the, we call it image loading effect. So we have this control as the snippet control, and this has a phone screen dot. This phone screen has property changed event like everything else. So we can subscribe to this. So I can say this is an async sender and event args. And what are we going to do when something is happening? So I can check if the property name equals to is loading. So this is the property which is exposed. Unfortunately, it is not exposed to you from the front end. It is only available in the background. So if it is available, then I can do something. So what I can do, only if this property is loading, I can do something. And I can check if my snippet control dot phone screen is loading, then I can say on this snippet control, I can start some animation, or I can start animating it. So I'll just put in a placeholder for this, a start animation function. Else, if it is already loaded, I can say snippet control dot end animation. So I can end the animation. Of course, we do not have these functions as yet. So let's go ahead and fix this. Private async start. This is going to be, we don't need to return anything. So void start animation. And similarly, private async void end animation. These are the two functions we need to create. So now these errors have disappeared. So that's all we are doing. Basically, if the property that we are looking for is loading, then we simply start the animation. Otherwise, we end the animation. And why is it complaining? Async method lacks await. We can. This is a lacks await because on the static method I cannot create. So that's fine. That's just a warning. So what are we going to do on the start animation? So start animation, we can do something very simple. Let me actually declare a private animation at the top. So private animation, and we can call it parent animation. And this is what we are going to work with. So whenever we are starting, so let's do something. If this dot animation is running, so we can give it a name. Let's call it image loading, or transition animation. Just give it a name, any name you can give. If this transition animation is already running, then we can return this. So we don't need to run this again. But if it is not running, then we need to start a new animation. So for this, I can say my parent animation equals to new. I will new it up to a new animation. And in this parent animation, let me add parent animation dot add. We will add, let's say, going from starting from 0, so 0.0 up to say 70% of the time, and what this is going to do, this is going to take up a new animation. Let me move it to a new line. New animation, and this new animation we can use lambda function for this, and for each of the animation I can say my loading indicator that we have dot opacity equals to V. So I'll run this from 1 to 0, because you notice when we start, on this loading indicator, the opacity is set to one. We have not changed it, so I'll change it. I'll move it from 1 to 0, and I will use, let's say, easing dot, which function we want to use. Cubic in seems fine to me for now. So this is the animation that we have created. And why is it complaining? No, if we miss something, add double, begin at, finish at, and an animation. And this is the animation, new animation. V loading indicator opacity is V10. This, I think, no, this is the mistake. So this is one animation I'm running. Let me make this whole visible, and yeah, we need to move this over here. And then I need to add another animation. This time around I need to reverse this. So for the first 70% of the time, it should go from full opacity to 0 opacity, and then from 0.7% of the time to say 1.0, which is end of the animation, it should go the reverse order. So basically it should go from 0 opacity to full opacity. We can leave everything else as such. And what we will do, we will now need to commit the animation. So to commit the animation, I'm going to say parent animation dot commit, and this just takes in a few parameters. Parent animation dot commit, and this will take in a few parameters. The first one will be the owner. So the owner is going to be this class itself, the name that I want to give, and this is the name that I want to provide so that I can work with it. Obviously I can define it as a static variable at the top, and I can make use of it. Let's move all of these to different lines so we can read them properly. Next one is going to be the rate. The rate, we are going to use the default rate of 60 FPS, which is 16. This is how it is defined. And the length for me is, let's run this animation for almost 2 seconds, or say 1600 milliseconds. And do we want to repeat this as well? Yes, I want to repeat. So I don't want this animation to end. I want to repeat this to indefinitely. So let's repeat this animation until completed, or until this animation is not ended. That's why we are giving it a name. And on the end animation, that's how we are going to end this. So I can simply say this dot abort animation, and this is the name that we can provide. This is the animation that we started, which is running indefinitely. So we can stop this animation, and then I can say await loading indicator dot fade to. So I don't want again to make it invisible with a jerk. So I'll ease it in slowly. So fade it to 0, basically 0 opacity, and maybe give it 250 milliseconds. So it will look like a smooth transition. So let's actually go ahead and run this now and see how it looks. Now in this particular case, you are not going to see any difference because the images, or some of the images rather, have already been cached. So what we will do, let me do something. Let me stop this and let me delete this application. So this will also delete all the cache along with it and redeploy the application. So let this load. So this is, since the whole API call is cached, so it is now fetching the data from the internet, from my web server. And now you see, this is what I meant. So for the first 70% of the time, it is fading in, and then let's pick up, I think, the places that is where it takes most of the time. Free chat, again quick, so very quick, real estate app, but you get the idea, right? What is happening? So you can see, depending on how big the image is, it will take that much time to load. If I go maybe a little bit further, which is still not loaded, or let's go to all things Xamarin. Yeah, my internet seems to be quite fast at the moment, so they are loading up. But you can at least get the idea. This is what we have built. Yeah, here you can see it is taking some time to download the image, and only after that it fades in very gradually. It is not giving you a jerk kind of an effect. So if I close the application and I reopen the application again, this time around the images will already be cached, and you will not see these animations at all because they are already cached. So this is one thing. Now right now what is happening, the moment I click on any of them, nothing happens. What should happen, it should send us or take us to the snippet details page. Let's go back to this snippet details page. That is what we should be doing. We should be navigating to that page. So let's actually implement that as well. The exact details of that page we'll be implementing in the later stages. So let's close this. Snippet image not required. Everything else we can close. We'll focus on the snippet cell. So this is the whole snippet cell. Anywhere we click inside of this snippet cell, we want to navigate. So for this, to this main border that we have over here, this border, this is where we can add a gesture recognizer. So let me bring in a gesture recognizer for this border, and this is a simple tab gesture recognizer binding to navigate to snippet details page command, and the source is again relative source. Ancestor type is, X type is view models start page view model. Do we have these view models defined over here? We did not, so let's define that. XML ns view models equal to view models snippets ads dot view models. So it is actually going to traverse up the tree in this control as well as its parent until it finds the start page view model, and then on this start page view model it is going to call this function or this relay command, which is navigate to snippets detail page, and it is going to pass in this whole snippet as its command parameter. So let's actually go ahead and implement this as well. We will go to snippet details page. No, let's start with our view model. This is where we need to put in. So at the very bottom, I can go ahead and I can say it's a new relay command, and this can be a private async task, and we copy pasted the name page, and this will take in snippet as the parameter. It will take in the snippet as the parameter, and what we will do in this, I will simply say navigation service. What is the name of my service that we have over here? Navigation service, I believe. Navigation service dot push async, because we want it to be a navigate type of a page, not the model page. And I will say new snippet details page, and in this page I want to pass in this snippet parameter. Right now I cannot pass it because if I go to my snippet details page, it does not take in a constructor, sorry, a parameter. So here I will need to change it to snippet, let's call it the snippet, and we will do something with this later. Again, we are going to fix this. We are going to bind it to a view model for this properly. Everything we will be doing, but for the time being we are just setting our framework. So let me run this. And see how it looks like. So we are on this breadcrumb control. If I click on it, You can see it takes us to the next page. Of course, we have not implemented the back button or any of those things, which in our case we have not bound it to the base page, so it is not working, but in theory you can get the idea. This is how it is working. The only thing which is pending right now is, if you see, this is the current application that we are building, and you see when I'm scrolling, it's looking very nice. I mean, no worries about this. But what I wanted to show you, what I have done in, and what I want to implement here is, you see the moment I keep on scrolling, you see this previous one keeps on becoming smaller and smaller and opaque, or sorry, transparent, and the one which is coming into the view, that starts becoming bigger and bigger. So it zooms in and it says, let me do it from here so that I can keep on scrolling slowly, because otherwise the moment I reach the end, it's a jerk. So you can see over here, so this comes up with some animation. That is what we want to implement. Now to implement this is again something very simple to implement. Let me close everything, and this implementation is going to be done with the start page that we have built, and in fact on the start page the carousel view. So again, this card view that Andrew has created, it's an amazing card view. You can find a lot of examples and applications making use of this card view. Amazing stuff he has done. And while I was going through this, there is something I found, which is Kim Philpotts, who has done amazing work. So Marvel cards, let me just go over there. So he came up with this nice repository where he is building some sort of animation. Let me show you. So this is the user interface that he has built, but let us see this in action if he has something as a screenshot. So what he has done, he has already implemented something. The moment you scroll, it implements actually the similar kind of effect that we want to do, which is it keeps the previous item keeps on growing and the current item keeps on becoming small and small. So this is what we will do. So all hats off and all credit to Kim for coming up with this amazing animation. This is something that we are going to do. So on our card view, let's go back. Where is our card view? Here is our card view. So here all we need to do is we need to add the user interacted. So there is an event which Andrew has exposed, user interacted, and this is where you can put in anything. So let me go to the definition, and in the code behind we can write some code for this. So this code is going to be very simple. I'm going to copy paste all the code that we have, and then I'm going to explain it in a while. So let me bring in some other helper functions for now. So animate front card during swipe, and why is it not picking it up? So let's add this over here using Snppts App .view controls. Okay, limit to range, this is not there yet. We will need to add that, but let me just bring in all the code. So this is all the code we have basically. Just a moment. So what we are doing over here, we have created a couple of functions. One is the animate front card during swipe, and then animate the incoming card during swipe. So right now you can see it is returning some errors because first of all we don't have this main image on our snippet cell. So the way we need to expose, because it is a custom control that we have, not a true custom control, it is actually a custom view. Until we change it to a templated control, we will not get access to the properties inside. So to counter that, let me actually go to our view controls, and in our snippet cells, let's see the snippet cell. So we have got this phone image over here. I am going to expose this as a custom property. So here I am going to call it, let's make it public snippet image. So snippet image, main image, and this main image is actually going to return me the phone image, the one which we have over here. So this is just a public exposure that I'm doing around this phone image. So if I save this, now at least this error will disappear. And then I'm doing some limit to range. Let me actually implement this function and then I'll explain what this function is. So we can go to our MAUI framework and we can implement it into the number extensions, and this is what will make us make it basically reusable. So it is simply a function, static double function, limit to range, which takes a double value. Basically it's an extension method, so it takes a double value, and what is the inclusive minimum and what is the inclusive maximum, what is the maximum which is allowed. So what this function does, basically you pass in something. Let's say if I say 10 dot limit to range, assuming, right, and I want to limit it between 1 and 20. So in this particular case 10 is within this range, so it is going to return us 10. But what if I change it to 9? So the maximum that is available is 9, so it is going to return us maximum of 9. What if I say it is, say 9, this is fine, and this is 1, and I change this to 3? So 3, it is not in this range between 1 to 9, so it is going to return us, sorry, 3 is in the range. So let's say if I change it to 1 and if I change this to 3, 1 is not in the range between 3 to 9, so it is going to return us 3. This is what this function does. It takes in the input value, the minimum and the maximum which is allowed, and then it will return either of these values. So let me go ahead and put them in new lines so we can read them a little bit better. Actually I can leave them into, this is the function which I copied from Kim. So what we are checking, if the value is greater than the inclusive minimum, then we check. If the value is less than equal to the maximum, then we return the value. Otherwise we return the maximum. Otherwise we return the minimum. So this is the logic which has been written to the example that I gave you to make sure that we always stay within the bounds. So once I save this, and since we have already in our global usings last time around, we set a namespace global using for this extension methods, it automatically picks it up. So what we are doing is, when we are animating, so for the front card, basically we start setting its opacity down and we start scaling it down. So this is all it is doing. I'm not going to explain. You can watch the Marvel card video from Kim Philpotts. He has done an amazing job over there. So what we are simply doing is, for the current card, we will keep on reducing the opacity and keep on scaling it down. And for the incoming card, we will keep on increasing the opacity and keep on increasing the scale. And then in this particular method, what we will do, we will just call this methods. So basically we will just check the status of the current swipe. If the current status is running, then this is what we do. We set the current path, we change the percentage of it from the center. So basically when we are scrolling over here, how much on or off we are from the center. So based on that, we can animate to that much opacity or that much scaling. And once it is ended or it is ending, what we want to do, we just want to animate the front card, and during the animation we want to animate the incoming card as well. So this is what this code is doing. I'm not going to go and explain this. So with this, let us actually go and run our main application, and we should now have the animation also implemented. So let's try that. See, when I'm scrolling away, it is becoming smaller and smaller, and the incoming card is becoming bigger and bigger. Same thing. and on the other direction it's doing exactly the same effect. So this is what we have achieved. Now from next video onwards, we will start working on the details page. Let me go to the details page in the finished application and show it to you in action. So we go to this application, this page. It shows you what this is, what SDK it is built using, how many stars are there. It is showing you the big image, whether it is supporting Android, iOS, Mac, UWP, who is the author, the description of this snippet, what different categories it belongs to. You can actually share it. So let's actually go ahead and share and see how it looks like. Something like this, that hey, I found this amazing snippet by this name, you know, you should check it out, and give stars to Kim Philpotts for this. So this is again one of the amazing snippet or code that he has created. This is also available on his YouTube channel. And then you can also view this whole project on GitHub. You can click on it, it will take you to the GitHub page. If you want, if you have the GitHub application, it will take you over there. Then any other images which are there, it will show up over at the bottom. In this case, there is only one additional image. If you click on it, it will show you the image in greater details. You can even pinch to zoom to see it in action and so on. So this is what we'll be implementing in the upcoming videos. So with that, peace out. If you are liking these videos and you want to learn more, please consider subscribing to this channel. Hopefully in the next 3 or 4 videos, we will be completing this whole series. And also I have created another series called Beyond Monkeys 1, where I am explaining some of the theory behind some of the things that we have been reusing in this project. I have explained all of that over there, along with building a comprehensive and complex YouTube clone application, which allows us to download YouTube videos locally on the device, play the videos, see the comments and so on. So a lot of functionality is implemented over there. So thank you everyone. Thank you for watching. See you next time.